Which parts of the country or which parts of the Caribbean are under a tropical storm warning right now, and or who should be preparing?
Yeah, so the northern portions of the Lesser Antilles, so that island chain that's way out in the Eastern Caribbean, the northernmost of those islands are out on tropical storm warning right now, as well as Puerto Rico. The entire island of Puerto Rico is also on tropical storm warning as we speak. So tropical storm conditions can start to be expected within the next 24 hours across all of those islands there that are under a tropical storm warning. So that would be winds greater than 40 miles per hour across those islands. Those can be expected during the day tomorrow as the storm moves through. Again, likely to become Ernesto sometime during the day tomorrow. It'll officially get that designation. But the storm is moving very quickly. So the good news is that it will move across the islands fairly quickly here. And by Wednesday afternoon, it should be north of Puerto Rico starting to pull away.
Pull away. So does that mean that the east coast of Florida and Georgia and South Carolina and North Carolina going up the east coast, do folks who live in those areas not have to worry?
I think from a direct hit from this storm, they probably don't have to worry. However, once it gets north of Puerto Rico, we're expecting Ernesto to become a hurricane. These hurricanes can produce a lot of waves, and so those waves will propagate westward towards the United States. And by the time I think Friday comes around, I'm very concerned about the rip current risk along the entire southeast coast of the United States. And then as we go into the weekend, we have to look all the way up the East Coast, even up into New England, for a high rip current risk. And so many times we see, these tropical systems staying far away from the United States, but unfortunately, time after time, we see some deaths even on the East Coast of the beaches because the dangerous rip currents. It can be a beautiful sunny day, with not a cloud in the sky, but hundreds of miles away, if there's a hurricane, the danger exists for those dangerous rip currents. And we really want to push the message out there that, along the entire eastern seaboard, we could be dealing with very dangerous rip currents. We want people to heed the advice from their lifeguards, to stay out of the water if there's high rip current risk. So swim at beaches with a lifeguard and always listen to what the lifeguards have to say.
Always listen to lifeguards. That is worth underlining. Now, what about folks who might be planning to go on a boat trip up and down the eastern seaboard this weekend? Should they cancel their plans?
Well, if you're going to be in any kind of inner harbor, you're probably going to be okay. There might be a little bit increased wave action in the inner harbors, but certainly if you get way out to sea, any kind of deep sea fishing, things like that, there could be some increased wave action. So it's a case-by-case basis, of course, depending on the ship and things like that. But certainly you would want to take your advice of your captain if you're going out on a deep sea fishing trip, things like that. But farther out into the Atlantic Ocean, those areas are going to see greater wave action. When you get more into the inner harbors, those areas are a little bit more protected. While there might be a little bit more increased wave action, those areas should be fairly okay close to shore.
Now, one of the headlines I've seen in relation to this tropical rainstorm is a potential tropical cyclone 5 is moving rapidly westward. Is that the same weather system or is that a different weather system?
Yeah, so the National Hurricane Center, they designate these storms as potential tropical cyclones when they want to put out watches and warnings. That's kind of their a way of doing things. It kind of gets the message out to the public. Us here at AccuWeather, we started drawing our tracks before the National Hurricane Center did, so we wanted to get the message out to the public as soon as possible. So when we thought there was a risk of development, we started drawing our own tropical tracks for this storm. But yes, it is the same thing. It's the same storm system. If you hear potential tropical cyclone, that is just the National Hurricane Center's designation of what this tropical wave or tropical rainstorm is.